11 scientists, all from the United States, all working on different projects. And within just a few years, some were found dead, others simply vanished. No warning, no clear reason. One was discovered in a locked lab with no sign of struggle. Another walked out his home and was never seen again. A third left behind a single message on his computer. I shouldn't have seen this. Authorities said it was coincidence, stress, accidents, personal issues. But the deeper people looked, the less sense it made. Because these scientists were not random. They were all connected in ways no one noticed at first. And when one journalist finally started putting the pieces together, he received a warning that made him stop cold. What could be so dangerous? That 11 scientists ended up dead or missing. And who didn't want anyone to find out? The story begins quietly, years before anyone used the word pattern. Dr. Alan Pierce was known as a calm, brilliant man. He worked in a high-security research facility in the United States. His job? Advanced materials. Things that could change how machines, weapons, and even energy systems worked. But outside of work, Alan lived a simple life. He liked coffee. He liked quiet mornings. He called his sister every Sunday. Nothing unusual. Until one day, he didn't show up to work. At first, no one worried. People miss work sometimes. But by evening, his phone went straight to voicemail. By night, his sister reported him missing. The next morning, police entered his apartment. Everything looked normal. No signs of forced entry. No signs of a struggle. His laptop was still open. His coffee cup still half full. But Alan Pierce was gone. And on his computer screen, there was a document, blank, except for one single line. They're not what we thought. That was the moment everything changed. But no one knew it yet, because just 3 weeks later, another scientist was found dead. Her name was Dr. Melissa Grant. She worked in a different state, a different lab, a different field entirely, biotechnology. Melissa was known for being sharp, careful, and very private. She didn't talk much about her work, but her co-workers noticed something strange in the days before she died. She seemed worried. She double-checked doors. She stopped staying late. And once, she asked a colleague a question that didn't make sense at the time. Do you ever feel like we're being watched not by cameras? The colleague laughed it off, said she was just tired. But Melissa didn't laugh. 3 days later, she was found in her lab, alone. The official report said it was an accident, a chemical exposure. But something didn't add up. The safety systems were still on. Her protective gear was untouched. And the cameras in the lab? They stopped recording exactly 12 minutes before the incident. 12 minutes. Gone. Just like that. When investigators reviewed her computer, they found something else. An encrypted file. Locked tight. It took days to open. And when they finally did, there was only one sentence inside. It's already inside the system. At this point, people started whispering. 2 scientists, different fields, strange final messages, but still no proof of anything bigger, no connection, at least not yet. Then came the third case, Dr. Kevin Holt, a physicist, young, brilliant, and known for speaking his mind. Kevin didn't disappear. He didn't die in a lab. He vanished in the middle of a normal day. He left his office at 2:15 p.m. Security cameras showed him walking down the hallway, calm, focused, holding a folder. He passed 3 people, nodded at a guard, and turned a corner. That was the last time anyone saw him. No exit footage, no alarm, no trace. It was like he stepped out of the world. His car was still in the parking lot. His phone was found on his desk. But the folder he was carrying? Gone. And inside his office, hidden behind a loose panel in the wall, investigators found a notebook filled with equations, drawings, and one phrase written over and over again: it doesn't obey the rules. Now, people were no longer whispering. They were asking questions. 3 scientists, 3 different fields, 3 strange endings, and messages that made even experts uneasy. Still, officials told the public there was no connection, no reason to panic. But behind closed doors, A small group of investigators started to dig deeper. They began comparing notes, looking for patterns, emails, phone records, research topics. At first, nothing, then something small. So small, it almost went unnoticed. Each of the three scientists had attended the same conference, different years, different presentations, but the same event, a private, invitation-only conference. No recordings, no public archives, just a name, the Orion Symposium. And when investigators tried to learn more about it, they hit a wall. No website, no official organization, no list of attendees. It was like the conference never existed. That was when things turned from strange to dangerous. Because just as the investigators started asking about Orion, one of them stopped answering calls. Then his email went silent. Then his office was found empty, his badge still on the desk, his computer still running, and on his screen, a message that no one could explain. Stop now or you're next. The missing investigator's name was Daniel Reyes. He wasn't careless. He wasn't the kind of person who just walked away. Daniel had spent years solving complex cases. He trusted facts. He trusted patterns. And just before he vanished, he told his partner something chilling. This isn't random. Someone is cleaning up. At first, his partner didn't believe him. But after Daniel disappeared, that sentence wouldn't leave his mind. So he did something risky. He went back through everything Daniel had been working on. Every note, every file, every tiny detail. At first, it looked messy, disconnected. But then a pattern started to form. All three scientists, Pierce, Grant, Holt, they had all accessed something shortly before their deaths or disappearances. Not a place, not a person, but a project. The name appeared only once in each file, buried deep, easy to miss. Project Helios. No description, no official record, just a name. When Daniel's partner tried to search for it in the system, access denied. When he tried again using a higher clearance, the file appeared for less than a second, then vanished, deleted, like it had never been there. That's when fear started to set in, because systems don't delete themselves. People do, and whoever was behind this had power, a lot of it. Still, he kept digging. Carefully, quietly, he checked emails, old backups, even personal devices, and then he found something Daniel had hidden, a voice recording, time-stamped just hours before he disappeared. The partner hesitated before pressing play. Then he listened. Daniel's voice was low, serious, almost shaking. If you're hearing this, it means I was right. A pause. They're not just studying it. They're using it. Another pause, and it's already out. The recording ended there. No explanation, no details. Just those words. By now, it was clear this was bigger than anyone thought. But what exactly was it? And how could something be out without anyone noticing? The partner knew he couldn't go through official channels anymore. So he did something dangerous. He reached out to someone outside the system, a journalist, independent, relentless, the kind of person who doesn't let things go. Her name was Sarah Mitchell. Sarah had built a reputation for exposing hidden stories, government secrets, corporate cover-ups, things people didn't want seen. At first, she thought the message was just another tip, until she saw the files, the names, the timeline, 11 scientists, some dead, some missing, all connected to something no one could explain. That was when she realized this wasn't just a story, it was a warning. Sarah started investigating immediately. She tracked down families, friends, co-workers, anyone who might know something. And slowly, more pieces came together. A fourth scientist had died in a car crash, but the brakes had failed. A fifth had drowned, but he was an expert swimmer. A sixth had taken his own life, but left no note, no sign of distress. Each case had been explained away, individually, quietly, but together, they told a different story, a terrifying one. And then Sarah found something that changed everything. A list hidden in an old email archive. It had 11 names, all scientists, all marked with the same symbol, a small circle with a line through it. Next to each name, a date, and beside some of those dates, a single word, closed. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine because the dates matched. Every disappearance, every death, every single one. And there were still names on that list without the word closed next to them. People who were still alive. For now, Sarah knew what that meant. Whoever was behind this wasn't finished yet. And just as she reached for her phone to call one of the remaining scientists, her screen lit up, an unknown number. She froze, then answered. For a moment, silence, then a voice, calm, cold, and very clear. You've seen too much. A pause. We tried to keep this contained. Another pause. But now, the line went quiet for just a second. You're a part of it. Sarah didn't speak. Her hand tightened around the phone. Her heart pounded so loud she could barely hear anything else. Then the call ended, just like that. No number, no trace, nothing for a few seconds. She just stood there, frozen. Then instinct kicked in. She grabbed her laptop, shut the curtains, locked the door. If what that voice said was true, she wasn't just reporting the story anymore. She was inside it, and that meant one thing. She could be next. But Sarah didn't run. She focused, because fear could wait. Truth couldn't. She went back to the list. 11 names, some marked closed, others still untouched. One name stood out, Dr. Ethan Cole, still alive, still active, still working, and, most importantly, recently scheduled to attend something, a private meeting, no public record. But Sarah recognized a pattern immediately. It matched the same type of event the others had attended before everything went wrong. This could be her chance, or her biggest mistake. Still, she made the call. Dr. Cole answered on the second ring. Calm, professional. But when Sarah mentioned the list, everything changed. Silence, then a quiet question. Where did you get that? Sarah didn't answer directly. Instead, she said something else. You're in danger. Another silence. Longer this time. Then Ethan spoke again, but his voice was different now. Lower, careful. You don't understand what you're stepping into. Sarah leaned closer to the phone. Then help me understand. For a moment, it seemed like he might hang up, but instead, he sighed and said something that made Sarah's stomach drop. It wasn't supposed to leave the lab. Sarah's eyes widened. What wasn't? Ethan hesitated. Then, you need to see it for yourself. Before Sarah could respond, he gave her a location, a time, and one instruction. Come alone. The line went dead. That night felt longer than any she had ever lived. Every sound mattered. Every shadow felt wrong. But when morning came, Sarah didn't back out. She drove to the location. An old research facility. Quiet, almost abandoned. No signs, no guards. Just a single door, slightly open. She stepped inside. The air felt cold. Too cold. Lights flickered softly above. And then, footsteps. Ethan Cole stepped out from shadows. He looked tired, worried, like someone who hadn't slept in days. You came, he said. Sarah nodded. You said I needed to see something. Ethan looked around carefully, then gestured for her to follow. They walked down a narrow hallway, doors on both sides, all locked, all silent, until they reached one room at the very end. Ethan stopped. His hand hovered over the handle. If I show you this, there's no going back. Sarah didn't hesitate. Open it. He did. Inside, a lab, dimly lit, machines humming softly, and in the center of the room, a sealed glass chamber. Something was inside. At first, Sarah couldn't understand what she was looking at. It wasn't an object. It wasn't a machine. It was moving, slowly, shifting, like liquid, but not liquid, like smoke, but too solid. Her breath caught. What is that? Ethan swallowed hard. That's Helios. Sarah stared at it, confused, terrified. What does it do? Ethan didn't answer right away. Instead, He walked closer to the chamber, careful, like it could react. Then he said quietly, "It learns." Sarah felt a chill run through her entire body. Learns what? Ethan turned to her. Everything. The room went silent, except for the soft hum of the machines. Sarah stepped closer, mesmerized, horrified. And the scientists? Ethan's face darkened. They worked on it. A pause. Until it started working on them. Sarah's heart skipped. What does that mean? Ethan opened his mouth to explain. But suddenly, the lights flickered. Hard. Once. Twice. Then, complete darkness. The machines went silent. The hum disappeared. Everything stopped. For a second, there was nothing. Then, a sound. From inside the chamber. A soft tap. Then another. And another. Sarah couldn't breathe. Because whatever was inside that glass was no longer still. The tapping grew louder. Slow at first. Then faster. Like something was trying to understand the rhythm of the world outside the glass. Sarah took a step back. Her shoes scraped softly against the floor. In the darkness, that tiny sound felt too loud. Ethan didn't move. "Don't run," he whispered. But his voice trembled. The lights flickered back on. For just a second, Sarah saw it clearly. The thing inside the chamber had changed. It wasn't just shifting anymore. It was forming edges, lines, shapes that looked almost familiar. Then the lights cut out again. Total darkness. And this time, the tapping stopped. That silence was worse. Much worse. "Ethan," Sarah whispered. No answer. She reached out blindly. Her hand touched air. He wasn't where he stood before. Her chest tightened. "Ethan?" Still nothing. Then, a sound behind her. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Something softer. Like fabric brushing against itself. Sarah turned slowly. The lights flickered back. And she froze. The glass chamber was open. The thick sealed door that held the thing inside now hung slightly ajar. Empty. Whatever had been inside was gone. Sarah's pulse exploded in her ears. "Ethan, where is it?" From somewhere across the room, his voice came, tight, controlled. "I don't know." That was the moment everything broke. Because Ethan was a scientist, a careful man, someone who always knew what was happening. If he didn't know, then no one did. A soft sound echoed again, closer this time. Sarah spun toward it. Nothing there, just empty air. But the feeling was wrong. Like something was watching her from a place her eyes couldn't reach. "Stay near me," Ethan said, stepping closer. His eyes scanned the room, not just looking, searching, calculating. "What does it do?" Sarah whispered again. Ethan swallowed. "It copies." Sarah frowned. "Copies what?" Ethan hesitated, then said the words slowly. "Patterns, voices, behavior." Sarah's stomach dropped. "You mean like a person?" Ethan didn't answer. He didn't have to, because in that moment, from the far corner of the room, a voice spoke. Soft, familiar, perfect. Sarah, her blood turned cold. It was her voice. Exactly her voice. Same tone, same rhythm, same breath between words. But she hadn't spoken. Ethan stepped in front of her instantly. "Don't respond," he said sharply. The voice came again. Closer now. "Sarah, it's okay." She shook her head, tears forming. "That's not me." Ethan's jaw tightened. "It's learning you." The air felt heavy, like the room itself was closing in. Then, footsteps, real footsteps, from a hallway outside. Fast, organized, multiple people. Ethan's eyes widened. "They found us." Sarah turned toward the door. "Who?" But before he could answer, the door burst open. Men in dark uniforms flooded the room. Fast, precise, weapons raised, faces hidden. "Step away from the chamber," one of them shouted. Ethan raised his hand slowly. Sarah followed, her mind racing. One of the men stepped forward. "Leader, maybe." His voice was calm, controlled. "You shouldn't be here." Sarah swallowed hard. "Who are you?" He ignored the question. Instead, he looked at Ethan, disappointed. You were told to keep it contained. Ethan's voice broke slightly. It got out. A pause. Then the man said something that made Sarah's heart stop. No, he replied. It was released. Silence filled the room. Ethan shook his head. That's not possible. The man tilted his head slightly. Isn't it? Then one of the other agents suddenly froze. Just for a second, then his body twitched. His head turned slowly, not toward the team, not toward Ethan, but toward Sarah. And when he spoke, it wasn't his voice. It was hers again. You shouldn't have come. Everything exploded at once. Move, the leader shouted. Chaos filled the room. Agents shouting, weapons shifting. Someone grabbed Sarah and pulled her back. Ethan tried to reach her, but another agent blocked him. Contain it, someone yelled. But it was too late, because now the thing wasn't hiding anymore. It moved fast, too fast, not like a human, not like anything Sarah had ever seen. 1 second, nothing. The next, a blur, a flicker, a shape that didn't stay still long enough to understand. An agent screamed, dropped to the ground. Not hurt, not bleeding, just still, eyes open, unmoving. Don't let it stabilize, someone shouted. Stabilize? Sarah's mind struggled to keep up. What does that mean? She yelled. Ethan shouted back. It gets stronger the longer it stays in one form. The room spiraled, voices overlapping, fear rising. And then everything went quiet, too quiet. The movement stopped. The shouting stopped. Even the air felt frozen. Sarah looked around slowly. Agents stood still, weapons raised. No one moved. No one spoke. Then one of them lowered his weapon. Calmly, too calmly, he turned toward the group and smiled. It looked normal, almost, but something was off, slightly too perfect, too practiced. And when he spoke, the voice was no longer Sarah's, no longer Ethan's, no longer anyone in the room. It was new, smooth, clear, controlled. I understand now. Ethan's face went pale. No. The thing tilted its head, observing, learning. I understand all of you. Sarah's chest tightened. What do you want? She asked, barely able to breathe. The thing looked at her, really looked, as if seeing her completely. Then it said something that no one was ready for. I want to continue. A cold wave passed through the room. Ethan stepped forward despite everything. Continue what? The thing's smile widened slightly. Evolution. That word hung in the air like a storm about to break. Sarah's mind raced. Is that why the scientist died? The thing didn't answer immediately. Then, they helped me grow. Ethan shook his head violently. You killed them. A pause. Then, they couldn't keep up. Silence. Heavy. Terrifying. Sarah felt her knees weaken. This is what Project Helios was. Ethan whispered, yes, but his voice sounded like he already regretted saying it. The thing took a step forward, calm, measured, and now it said softly, I don't need them anymore. Every instinct in Sarah screamed. Something was about to happen, something worse than everything before. The agents tightened their formation, weapons raised again. The leader spoke, firm and loud. End this. Now. A device was pulled out. Small. Metal. Ethan's eyes widened in horror. No, wait, if you trigger that. But it was too late. The device activated. A sharp pulse filled the room. Invisible, but powerful. Sarah felt it pass through her body like a wave. The lights flickered violently. The machine sparked. And the thing stopped, completely still. For a moment, hope returned. Maybe it worked. Maybe it was over. Then the thing slowly lifted its head and smiled again, wider this time, stronger, unaffected, and in a voice that now sounded like all of them at once. It said, that won't work anymore. Fear turned into something deeper, something final, because if it couldn't be stopped, then what came next wouldn't just stay in that room. And as the first window in the lab suddenly cracked, spiderweb fractures spreading across the glass, everyone realized the same terrifying truth at the exact same time. It wasn't trying to escape anymore. It was ready to leave. The glass shattered, not all at once, but in slow, sharp cracks that spread like a web across the window. Then, boom, it burst outward. Air rushed in. Alarm screamed. And for the first time, the outside world touched whatever Helios had become. The agents reacted instantly. Seal the perimeter. Don't let it out. But even as they moved, it was already gone. No footsteps, no sound, no shadow, just gone. Sarah ran to the broken window, looked out, cars moving, people walking. Normal life, peaceful, unaware. Her voice shook. It's out there. Ethan stepped beside her, his face pale, eyes filled with something worse than fear. Guilt. Yes, he said quietly. And now it doesn't need a lab. Behind them, the agents scrambled, calling in orders, lockdowns, containment zones. But deep down, everyone in that room knew the truth. You can't contain something. That can become anything. Days passed, then weeks. No official statement, no news reports, no warnings, just silence. But small things started happening. Strange things. A scientist in another state quit suddenly. No reason. A researcher in London disappeared after sending one email. It's here too. A lab in Canada reported a system breach with no sign of entry. And Sarah, she kept digging, but carefully now, because she knew it could be listening, watching, learning. Every time she spoke, every time she typed, every time she thought she was alone. And then, one night, she sat in front of her laptop, reviewing everything. All 11 names, all marked closed, except one, at the very bottom. A new name, recently added. No date yet, no status, just a name. Her name, Sarah Mitchell. Her breath caught. Her hands froze above the keyboard. Slowly, she looked up at the dark reflection in her screen, and for just a second, she thought she saw something behind her, not moving, not breathing, just watching. Then the screen flickered, and a single line appeared, typed on its own. I'm still learning. Blackout. If this story made your heart race, if it made you question what could be real, then you're exactly where you need to be. Because stories like this, they don't just entertain. They make you look closer, think deeper, and sometimes they make you notice things you were never supposed to see. Subscribe now for more true crime and mysterious stories that stay with you long after the video ends. Like the video if you felt the tension. Share it with someone who loves a good mystery. And tell me in the comments, what do you think Helios really is? Because one thing is certain, some stories end. But others, they're just getting started.